Hello, agentpreneurs, and welcome to episode 77 of the Daily List Report. We've got an incredible show for you today. We've got Chasten Miles from eXp based in Dallas, and you all love learning from top agents and how they run their business, how they got to where they are, what kind of coaching tips they have, and Chasten is full of them. Before we bring Chasten on, I want to bring up for just a moment here, this is his YouTube channel. This is our second very active YouTuber that we've had on the show. The last one, Loya Velasquez, was amazing, and her show's been incredibly popular, so I know that you're enjoying learning from these great leaders. Chasten is right here. We're going to post a link to his channel. Make sure you check it out. If you love the content, go ahead and subscribe. Chasten's also very active on Instagram, so we'll post a link to this as well. But a lot of you have asked me, how do I program Instagram? What kind of content should I put up there? Great opportunity for you to learn from people who are doing this extremely well. And then we'll post a link to this as well because Chasten is very proud of his website. He's got lots of content on here. You've got video content, you've got podcasts. There's lots of stuff you can learn from. So chastenjmiles.com, you can learn all about Chasten there as well. All right, so without further ado, let's bring Chasten on. Chasten, say hello to the agentpreneurs of List Reports.
What's up? How y'all doing?
Awesome, Chasten. Hey, Chasten, thank you so much for taking time today to do this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it on behalf of our audience. Everyone loves hearing from top amazing agents, so I'm excited for our conversation today.
Nice. I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Chasten, we're going to have a wide-ranging conversation today, right? Obviously, you're a top agent, you're EXP, you're in Dallas, you've been featured in all these publications. I won't read them all, but the Dallas Morning News, CEO World Magazine, the Dallas Voice, Realtor Magazine, and you also wrote a book, which we're going to talk about at the end because I'm really excited. I love these books, as we talked about, that have these anecdotes and stories. The book is titled The Real Before the Estate, which is super clever. What I Wish I Knew Before I Started Real Estate. So, Chasten, I love to give our guests an opportunity to get to know, our audience, I should say, to get an opportunity to get to know our guests. So, Chasten, I'm going to hand this over to you for a couple minutes. And why don't you talk a little bit about who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, how you got into the business, etc.
Sure thing. Gosh, why did I get into the business? I was a college kid, and funny story. Me and some of my buddies, we were walking around campus one day, and we were looking for an off-campus apartment. So oftentimes on campus they would post flyers of homes and apartments that you can rent that weren't on the college campus, and it was for obvious reasons why we wanted to move off, just so we could have a
Yes.
lot of freedom. So one day we ended up seeing this sign, and we called the number that was on that sign, and turns out it was for a real estate company. So we later that day went and met with this agent, this real estate agent, at her office, and she sat down with us and showed us all these rental properties. And as she was doing this, I started to ask her questions. I was like, how'd you get started doing this? And what all is it going to take? How much money are you going to need from us? And how much is this going to cost us? And she said, oh, it won't cost you anything.
Hmm.
She said that, and my ears perked up, right? I was like, wait a minute, this is such a scam.
What's the catch?
So then I said, so how are you gonna make money off of this? And then she started to tell us how real estate worked and everything. And it was at that moment I was like, gosh, this old lady can do this. I want to do this. Like, I'm actually on the college campus. I will get people in off-campus properties all day and night. And so that's when my real estate, that's when it was sparked in me, like literally from that one conversation.
Wow.
And I tell people, I didn't come from a real estate family or real estate background, and I didn't know anything about homes or anything like that. And it just literally was from that one conversation that day. So I made a decision. I was like, I'm going to enroll in real estate school. So I enrolled in real estate school that week. Well, I didn't have a lot of money. Again, I was that college kid. So I ended up I ended up talking them into putting me on a payment plan. Right. So I'm this young student who has these big dreams of becoming a real estate agent, strictly just to do rentals, because she said she made $2,000 off of our rental.
Right.
And I got them to put me on a payment plan. Well, here it comes, second month. I'm succeeding and I'm doing well in the class, but I can't make that second payment. So I was forced to drop out of real estate school. And it wasn't until 2 years later that I got back enrolled in real estate school. Like I still had that desire. I knew that I wanted to do it. I got back enrolled in real estate school and ended up passing my course and passing the test on the first try. And literally it's been forward from there. I mean, that's where it started and
That's
here we
amazing.
are. But I can tell you 100% this wasn't like the dream. It was like me being in college and I was like, oh, I want to try that because there's money in it. And
Yeah.
I just been at it ever since.
That's awesome. Look, Chasen, it's one of the things that I love about real estate is hearing people's stories because there's so many different reasons, right? There's
Yeah.
tremendous flexibility. I've spoken to agents who have children with disabilities and it gave them the flexibility and the freedom, people as second careers, people who are full-time, just all sorts of stories, which is amazing. Chasen, so how long have you been doing real estate now?
So I am going on 8 years
8
now.
years.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
Jason, a lot of our viewers have been clamoring for information about how do I get better at social media? How do I get better at video, right? And we've been, bringing people on to talk about that. Obviously, you're extremely active on YouTube. You have a great following there as well as Instagram and so on and so forth. Like, can you talk to our audience a little bit about how you got started in that? Was it an easy, natural thing for you to do? Was it difficult? How did you get started and how did you become successful at that?
Well, here's what I say on that because I get this question a lot. A
Yeah.
lot of people want to know how to blow up or have success or any of that. When in actuality, I don't have the answer for that. I
Hmm.
have things that you can do, but what I found to be the one thing that most people have to overcome is actually posting content out there.
Yeah.
And that's how I started. When I started on YouTube, when I started on Instagram, there wasn't a goal per se. I didn't start putting up videos because I wanted to get a million views or this and that. Like I started it because I knew that it was something that I want to do. I knew that people were doing it. So heck, why not?
Right.
And so I just started putting up videos. Most of my videos were literally me holding my phone, nothing fancy, no fancy light. I was in my car, so the only lighting was the sun,
Right.
and I was talking through the phone speaker. So just none of all of that stuff that people think that they need. And agents spend so much time trying to perfect this whole what they think it has to be. Like I have to get this camera, I have to write this script, I have to have this microphone, and they don't actually put out the content, you know. And so
It's so
what I
true,
ended up
Jason.
finding was it was all about the content you were putting out there and doing it at a consistent level. Like I've been on YouTube probably 4 years now,
Mm.
and it shows. Like I have literally 4 years worth of video. Heck, I could have even had more, but I wasn't worried about all of that stuff. I didn't care if somebody watched it or not.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily doing it for views when I first started. I was doing it just to stay relevant.
Mm.
And so I would say that's the big key to it. Like actually putting out the content over time, you'll get more comfortable, you'll get better. Again, I'm not a newscaster. I had never been on video or anything
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
I literally just had my phone. Like you can still see my first videos out there, and they have like 200,000 plus views,
Mm.
so it just really goes to show it's not what you think. It's more so about actually putting out content,
I,
getting that image, getting that video out there.
Jason, it's so right. And I'm glad to hear you say that, right? So, for those of you listening who watched last Friday's episode where I gave some really basic tips, Jason, this was all on it, right? Which is commit to something, be consistent about posting videos. Don't worry about fussing with the technology and, oh, I can't afford the best camera. I'm shooting this show right now on my iPhone, right? Like, there's literally my
Yeah.
iPhone on a $17 tripod recording this show. So, those things are just excuses and they get in the way. Chasten, one thing though that I talk a lot about, I'm curious to get your perspective on this, is you've now built a brand for yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so, as you were starting this, you said you were just like you were trying it out, you thought you should be there, you wanted to be relevant, you're making videos in your cars. How did you sort of think about who you were going to be? Like what were you talking about? What did you want to be known for? And how did this tie into your business? Can you talk a little bit about the brand that you've built and maybe any thoughts about how an agent can think about that process?
Sure. What actually happened with that was my my audience told me what brand I should build. And
Interesting.
and they're the ones who led me in a certain direction. So me being a real estate agent and starting to record videos, in my mind, I was automatically trying to get buyers and sellers. You know, that's
Yeah.
I'm trying to lead generate. I'm trying to get business. What ended up happening was I was attracting agents.
Hmm.
I was getting real estate agents. And so I was like, huh, this is very interesting. And my comments started reflecting people or other agents wanted me to share how I did this or share how I did that. And then next thing you know, my whole channel has become a channel for real estate agents. Now, I've even had other agents tell me, well, I don't want mine to be about real estate agents, or I don't want it to be for real estate agents. And I'll tell them that that wasn't what I was going after.
Right.
That wasn't my plan, but it's been very fruitful for me. And I'm going to tell you why. For one, I've been able to help so many agents across the country build their businesses in a way that they never thought that they could. I've been able to attract an award-winning team here in Dallas filled with staff and agents that believe in the vision, believe in me, believe in where we're going, and have that hustle mentality.
Yeah.
I get so many referrals from agents all across the country because they know me as the real estate agent here out in Dallas, because I'm the only one, really putting out content on a consistent level, and that's made me money. I do get buyers and sellers. Buyers and sellers watch my videos and they see how knowledgeable I am. They see me training my quote unquote competition, and they're like, oh, that's the guy who I want to do a transaction with, because
right.
obviously he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So, I didn't discount where it was going or where it could lead, but my audience found me. They started requesting more of certain types of videos. They started requesting training. They're the ones who started subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing. And so when that became relevant to me, and when that started happening, then it almost felt like, okay, now I have a duty and an obligation to provide more of that. I'm starting to go down this road, and it feels good. It feels so good, so I just want to be that guy for people any way that I can.
I love that. Jason, that's such a great answer. And we've been sort of learning as we go here at List Reports, right? With this show, we never did this before. We never made video like this before. And to your point of listening to your audience, our audience has been telling us more tips about how to do stuff like this, more tech tips, tools, things like that. And so we've adapted by listening. And it's funny, your point is the same as Loida Velasquez, who was just on the show recently, who's also popular on YouTube. And she said the same thing, that she's getting a ton of referral business from other agents, that her audience ended up being agents and she didn't expect that, but you sort of roll with that. And I think that's really, really interesting. So, Chasten, these are interesting times right now, right? There was an Inman article that was from end of last week, I think it was. And it was talking about how in these times where things are changing, right? Like there's different ways to access buyers and sellers, or we're compromised in some ways. And they're talking about video being a really important part of that. How have you adapted or changed, your business over these last 4 months? And what aspects of business do you think maybe are going to change sort of permanently, right? So how have you thought about these last 4 months and what's going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest areas that we've adapted in has just been our process of doing things. I like to think that we were already pretty forward thinking. We were part of all the trends. I mean, I'm on TikTok. And that was well before COVID came, so it wasn't a matter of if we could reach people or if we can get business, because we felt really secure in that. It was more so on, okay, how is this actual process going to be now? Like, is it going to be impossible? Is it going to be where we need to, do everything virtually? I mean, we were in the same boat as a lot of people.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, I remember one of the months, I want to say it was March or maybe even beginning of April. It seemed like every single day there was a new piece of like restriction or something
Yes.
we couldn't do. So we were trying to plan a process, and then it's like, well, now we come into the office today and we can't do that anymore. And so we spent so much time just working on that stuff. And at the end of the day, what we realized was, because business didn't shut down for us.
Right.
I mean, they restricted things, but it didn't truly shut down to where we had no transactions going, no business. And what I realized was, everyone who wants to do something still is going to do something.
Yeah.
If someone wants to purchase a house, they're going to purchase a house. If someone wants to sell something, they're going to sell something. So our biggest adjustment came with who we were marketing to. You know, we changed that, because we would do a ton of things with first-time home buyers, or even clients who are on down payment assistance, or maybe needed some credits here and there. We would do a ton of that business. Well, the bank started tightening up on who could qualify for what. Yeah. So we couldn't let that be our focus anymore. We had to change. I will tell you right now, we're doing a ton of new construction deals. We're doing a ton of new construction deals, but this was another situation where we didn't set out to say, okay, we're going to do all new construction. It just kind of started happening that way. People were still seeing our marketing. They were still seeing our videos. And it just turns out like, you know, a lot of people were calling about new homes. So now we've tailored most of our marketing to be more new construction. So we're working with a lot of developers. We're working with builders. People are very active on social. You know, very active with watching videos and posts and everything. But I'll tell you what we stopped doing a lot of, and kind of pivoted, was we stopped just advertising properties. You know, we stopped just advertising open houses. And what we were doing was, we were now marketing and showing the process and the behind the scenes. Okay. So we're showing how we're working on things. We're showing how we're overcoming these COVID challenges. We're showing us actually putting listing presentations together, cold calling on the phone, telling people about what we still can do. And that's been working out so well, because it is different, and it's entertaining, and people are captivated by it.
Yeah. Chasten, that's really smart. That's really interesting. And I think, you know, what it points to more than anything is, you have to continue to adapt, right? You have to have a pulse and a read on what's happening in the market. And you have to be relentless about updating your scripts and your strategy along the way, right? I mean, that's sort of what happened here. And I think that's such a critical part of this, and something that, frankly, a lot of people don't do. They go back to what's tried and true, and they don't realize that the market has moved on from that.
Yeah. You know, I tell people, especially even other agents who I speak with, and my team knows it 100%. Like, we can't let this be an excuse anymore. Okay. I don't want to hear from anybody else once this blows over, or once things get back to normal, because there's no guarantee of that. Any type of guarantee of that happening. And then it's kind of like, when is that going to happen? So you're going to sit around, sit in a chair until you're just dead broke, because you're waiting on this miracle day when everything is going to say, oh, we're back to normal. No, it's just not going to happen that way. So if you're still serious about this business, if you're still serious about making it happen, just adapt to it. Do what you can. I'm not saying we can do everything, but we sure as hell aren't just doing nothing.
That's right.
So, you know, it's like, you got to make it happen.
That's right. That's right. You got that hustle sign right behind you. So I know that's a big part of it, is you got to hustle. Always got to hustle.
Yeah.
Chasten, you know, I want to talk for a second, because you wrote a book. I pulled it up on the screen right now. We'll put a link to this as well. It's The Real Before the Estate: What I Wish I Knew Before I Started Real Estate. I love that title. That's fantastic. It's really catchy and interesting. Why did you always want to write a book? Did you write the book for yourself? Did you write it for other agents? Like, talk a little bit about this book and why you wrote it, and what it's about.
Sure. No, I have not always wanted to be an author, or I couldn't barely even write an English paper. So when you read this book, you're gonna notice that it's in my true country Southern voice.
Love it.
Because I am not an expert. But what I did notice years down the line in my career was, there was so many things that nobody told me, you know, and I see it every day on YouTube, people writing me comments or sending me DMs on Instagram of people saying, I wish I would have known this and nobody told me this. And I'm like, I'm right here with you. Like there were so many things that no one told me, or they told me the complete opposite of what it was when I actually became an agent. You know, it was a complete opposite of the reality. For instance, I went around and interviewed at different brokerages, right? I was going around to different brokerages. I was reading all the blogs that most probably newer agents read to figure out where they should go. And I think back, I sat in all these interviews and had these people who didn't even know me tell me how great I was going to be and how I was going to make so much money and how easy it was going to be. And, you know, I finally joined somewhere and got into business, and I was like, this is nothing like they said. And I think back and I'm like, how can somebody who I just met 2 minutes ago tell me how great I'm going to do, how easy this is going to be for me, and all that stuff. And then like knowing what I know now, it's all about the numbers. You know, people just want to say that they have a lot of agents and this and that, but it's truly a sales game from step one all the way to, you know, wherever you end up. So what this book is filled with stories. It's filled with things that I've experienced that I wish like somebody would have told me about this, because believe me, I'm that guy that, or I was that guy who probably joined this career for all the wrong reasons. Like I heard of one fancy flashy paycheck and I was like, I want to do this, you know. But if someone would have told me that it was going to take all of this, I probably would have said, no, I don't think I want to do that. Like, I think, you know, because it wasn't a passion of mine. It wasn't what I came down, you know, or like grew up to set out to do. So that's what
I fell into it, right?
Yeah. I wanted to provide value. I wanted to provide a very realistic view of the business, but then I also wanted it to help you overcome some of those challenges. So, you know, one of my chapters, first 2 weeks on the job, where I'm literally talking about what my first 2 weeks were like, but how yours can be, me knowing what I know now, like me giving you that advice of an experienced agent. I'm talking about how to work with home buyers, traps with buying leads and those lead buying services. So I'm giving bad investments to make as a new agent. You know, when I was a new agent, there were so many things thrown at me. Buy this, buy this, buy this lead. You need this fancy business card. You need this and that. And then I spent all my money. I spent all my money. I was broke because I didn't know what I truly needed and what I didn't. So there's a lot of that stuff in this book. So truly what I wish I knew before real estate.
That's awesome. Jason, I love that. We'll definitely post a link and I can't wait to read it. So I'm very excited about that. You know, Jason, we're going to wrap up here in a second, but you know, one of the things that we talked about in preparation for this call is this idea of, we'll call it sustainable business, right? Sustainability in business. And I know this is something that you're very passionate about. So, you know, maybe you'll come back on the show and we can talk about this in more detail, but I would love for you to share your perspective with our audience, you know, our agents out there across the country, as to how you think about building a sustainable business and what are the key points there.
Sure. One of the biggest key points on building a sustainable business is maintaining your relationships. And I experienced this firsthand for myself when I was probably around like 3.5, 4 years in the business. I had closed maybe about 65 deals or so, and I hadn't received not one referral from any of that business, you know, and I was always told that, hey, yeah, I work off of referrals and you'll build a referral-based business, but I was still in the office doing the same things that I was doing day one. And I was like, you know, why am I not getting business? Why is this not multiplying the way that I thought it's supposed to? And I realized that it was because I wasn't maintaining the right relationships. You know, I wasn't keeping in touch with people. And it sounds simple, but it can be one of the most difficult things to do, you know, especially if it's been a while, to swallow your pride and pick up that phone and say, hey, I know you haven't heard from me in 2 years. You know, like it could be extremely difficult. Next, managing your money the right way. I mean, when you get to that top agent status or you start closing deals and you're seeing dollars and cents like you've never seen them before, we immediately start placing money in things and places that aren't necessarily contributing to our business. So learning how to reinvest that money back into the business. All right. Making sure that you are up to date on trends and knowing how to adapt to things. So I've seen a lot in my 8 years of being in this business, but I can guarantee if I was still doing things the way that I was doing them on day one, I would not be relevant today because I mean, I've had to adapt so many times in so many areas. Firsthand, like one thing that I've seen, especially at a previous brokerage, I've seen agents come into business and they'll come in, have a $2 million year, or they'll come in, sell a few luxury properties. And then next thing you know, 6 months, a year later, they're out of the business, and someone could look at them and say, gosh, you were so successful. What happened? And it was because they really weren't setting their business up to be sustainable. You weren't doing the things to carry you from year to year. I tell my coaching students this all the time. Like, I would rather you sell 10 homes year over year for 5 to 10 years. Like, luckily you're still in the business, than to just have one breakout year and now you're out of the business looking for a job because you didn't set things up the right way, or you didn't do what it takes to make sure that you have a sustainable business. So those are just a few things. But at the end of the day, if you can maintain those relationships, you will always have a steady stream of business coming in.
I love that. That's great advice, Jason. And we talk about this a lot on this show, but agents are just notoriously bad at that. The percentage of people that you sell a home to that use you again for your next home is like 10, 15, 12, 13%. I mean, it's nothing, right? Like, there's so much business there that is lost because of a lack of follow-up. Like you said, swallow your pride. If it's been a while, that's okay. Pick up the phone. And, my perspective, Jason, is that right now, more than any time in the last few years, there's a lot to talk about, right? There's a lot of questions and confusion and fear that exists out there that you can be talking to your past customers about to make sure they understand what their options are right now. So I think that's tremendous advice, Jason. Jason, I think we'll wrap up for today. I love this topic of sustainability. In fact, next week, Omri Friedel, who's our head of finance, is going to actually do an episode on managing cash flow and being disciplined about that. But frankly, Jason, if you're open and you're down for it, I'd love to have you back on at some point and kind of dive into some of those topics, because I think it's really important and really, really good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime. I love it.
I love it too. Jason, thanks so much for your time today. I don't know if you have any parting words for our agents, but if you do, feel free to share them. If not, we're going to talk to you real soon.
No, yeah. I mean, just continue pushing forward. Just know we're all in the same boat together, but there's some people that are going to come out of this and they're going to be on top, and there's some people that won't come out of this. And so, just really choose what side you want to be on and do what it's going to take. It's going to be different. It's different for everybody, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So that's it for me.
Well said, Jason. All right, Jason. Well, until we see you next time, be safe and be healthy and be happy. Okay. And keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Bye, Jason. Well, that was fantastic. Really great having Chasten on the show today. Really excited that all of you got a chance to learn from a real pro like him. So again, check out his YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe. We'll put a link to it in the comments below. Go to his website, chastenjmiles.com. Follow him on Instagram. These are such easy ways to learn from a real pro. These are easy ways for you to consume content, look at the strategies they're using, and adapt them to your own, right? You need to find your own why, build your own brand, and then definitely check out his book, The Real Before the Estate, What I Wish I Knew Before I Started Real Estate. So again, learn from the pros, follow them on social media, watch their videos on YouTube, read their books, right? This is how we get better. And you can take all of that. And as Chasten said, you're going to find your own path. You're going to find your own way. What worked for somebody else isn't guaranteed to work for you. But if you understand what those strategies are, then you're going to find the strategy that's going to work for you. So until tomorrow, be safe, be healthy, be happy, and we'll see you soon. Bye.